everybody, it's Jaret from the Rockstar Dad Show. Coming up this week on the program, swim-up bars, why you should always have a ball in the pool to throw around, and Dusty Mots, amazing Texas musician. And y'all are going to learn something this week. That is this week on the Rockstar Dad Show.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. So here's the next episode.
Welcome to the Rockstar Dad Show. I swear it is our intention to bring you new content each and every week. But life happens sometimes, Gary.
Yeah, life happens. It's a busy summer.
It is a busy summer, dude. You finally got to go on your family vacation, and tell me about it.
Well, we went to the Dominican Republic. We went to like an all-inclusive resort type place. It was the four of my family, Wiseman's, my mom, and my sister's family. So there was 9 of us total.
Okay.
And it was killer. It was an awesome, awesome vacation. Beautiful place. Loved the resort. Good food. Great service. It's one of those things whenever you're booking these things, like, I don't know if you do like I do, like, you know, you're looking at comments and reviews and stuff.
Sure.
And you just can't tell, right? No. It'll be like, this is the best place we've ever been. And the next one, it sucks. The service is horrible. We hated it. You just never can tell, right? So we picked a place that had like a bunch of pools, had lazy river and water slides and stuff for the kids. And we were thinking that'd be great for them. We did the lazy river and the water slides like one day. The rest of the time we just hung out in the pool and the beach. And it was awesome. And can't wait to go back.
What do the kids do while you're just hanging around in the pool?
So the kids, since there's 4 of the kids, they kind of play around. But most of the time, literally, Tyler's hanging out with me. We're at the swim-up bar a lot of the time, right? But he's getting virgin pina coladas and virgin daiquiris and dirty bananas and all this stuff, right? Yeah. And so we'll have about 2 drinks, and then he's like, "Dad, let's go throw the ball." Yeah. And so we go out into the middle of the pool, and we've created a game with, those water balls that kind of bounce and skip.
Of course I do.
All right. Well, we've created this game, and we can only do it on like vacation resort type pools. Can't do it in a normal pool, but you back up is, probably 30, 40 yards away from each other. And then you're just skipping it as hard as you can. And you try to stop it. And if it goes past the person, it's a point.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's great.
That's a great game.
So, every couple of drinks, he's like, "Dad, let's go throw the ball again." And basically we do that all day long.
When the pool gets like super crowded, do you keep playing, or do you like, hey, we got to take a break for this?
No, we're not jerks. Of course, if it's really crowded, then we get to where we throw the ball over people, or we just go take a break. But it was kind of awesome. Whenever we booked this resort, like we kind of got some of the last few rooms, so I was a little nervous thinking it was just going to be super crowded and packed. It was awesome. It wasn't super crowded except for one day. A bunch of New Yorkers showed up for a wedding, and they were very, let's do tequila shots and loud, obnoxious.
I know that guy.
Yeah. And other than that one day that they were there, it was not too crowded. We got into whatever dinner place we wanted to get into, and it was awesome. It was a really good time. Tyler spent a lot of time with my mom, which I wasn't expecting, and I think they had a great time. And all around, it was just great. No crazy anybody nearly drowning in the ocean. It was just
oh man, yeah, yeah. Do you, when you're with that group though, do you have a drinking buddy, or is it just Tyler's your drinking buddy and you're just like chilling? Because I mean, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah. So in that group, Tyler's a little bit of my drinking buddy. I mean, we just hang out. But my mom would be my drinking buddy.
Oh, that's right. I forget. Just gin and tonic, Margaret.
Yeah. She, at the swim up bar, she's like, "I'll have a gin and tonic." And then she tries something else and something else. She kept on talking to people from, other people that we don't know. And they'd be like, "Oh, our favorite drink is this." Yeah. And she's agreeable. And she'd be like, "Okay, I'll try one of those next." And every single time she's like, "Oh, that's horrible. I don't like that."
Casey's
go back to the gin and tonic.
Casey, my wife, is a drink trier. And I don't understand it. It's like I try to tell her, "Casey, you don't like chicken. You know, like, because every time we have chicken, she has a couple of bites of it and she's like, I don't know, this is too chickeny, you know? And I'm like, it's not like fish. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking chicken. You know, and I do understand what she's saying. You know how you get a piece of chicken and it's like too chickeny, but you just eat it because it's fucking chicken? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not 100% sure I understand that. But I mean, I'm aware that chicken does taste like chicken. I don't know if I've had too chickeny chicken.
The point is that she just won't fucking admit that she doesn't like stuff.
So she wants to like stuff. She just doesn't like stuff.
Yeah, she likes everything. That's what sucks. But she has this love-hate relationship with chicken. And anyway, but her other thing that she does is she likes to try drinks. And they're always like one of those $15, $16 jobbers, you know?
Of course, yeah.
And she never likes it. Never. I mean, it's literally 100% chance she's not going to like it. I guess it's part of the fun now, you know? Like, it's a $20 experiment to giggle.
So like everything that I do, I know what I'm going to do next, right? Like, and I'm ready to do the next thing. And I think we've talked about this before, but the best way I can explain it and give an example is like when I'm driving somewhere and we're in the car and like, you know where Target is, right? You know, whenever you're about to be at Target and it's especially you're already in the parking lot, you know that you're there. And you're going to be getting out of the car in about 3 seconds, right?
Exactly.
And so, like, whenever I park the car, I turn off the car and I get out of the car.
Yeah.
And then I have to wait like 5 minutes for Anik to get all her shit. And I'm like, what is happening? Did you not know that we were about to be here?
Yeah.
Well, she does that at bars too. And what she does is she likes to go to bars and go, can I see a drink menu? And then she like studies this menu and then orders something. And I'm like, it's a bar. They just, anything you want that bars have, they have that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and it's usually she ends up just being like, I'll have a margarita after studying the drink menu for 8 minutes.
We do the drink menu game sometimes too. But most of the time when this happens, it's just Casey will just go, what's that purple thing over there? You know, that somebody else is drinking, you know?
Yeah.
And, go ahead.
She had a lot of different drinks on the vacation and it was good.
Good.
It was Mia's birthday.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was one time we were at not the swim up bar, but we were just at like the bar between the pool and the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And it had like those, rope swing chair things.
Yeah.
And it was really cute. Mia's just sitting in the swing and she's swinging. She's like, this is the best birthday ever, Daddy. Thank you for picking this place. So
yeah,
I think it was a success for everybody.
That girl, man, just always knows the right. Everything's always the best thing ever. Like, it's like, I know that the girls all went and got pedicures. And so Anik and Mia, and I guess not just the girls, because Everett was there, you know, Casey, Everett, and then Bonnie and Allie, Mark and Bonnie's granddaughter. And they, and Mia, I guess, said during the pedicure, this is the best pedicure ever. And it was her first one.
Yeah. She is also the best gift getter ever. And I don't mean like picking them out. I mean like receiving a gift, because everything that she opens, she's just so excited. Yeah. And it could be something she's never heard of or seen in her life. And she opens and she's like, I've always wanted this.
Yeah.
This is the one. And it's just the cutest.
Dude, you could go viral with that shit, because there is a girl that, there's a viral video like 2 years ago, and this girl opens up a banana for a gift and loses their goddamn mind, and that video has 20 million views or whatever. So I don't know. Be thinking about your boy. I'll tell if you ever get a chance to wrap up something hilarious, film that. Let me share it. Yeah, right. Man, I'm glad y'all had fun. Y'all deserve it, man. It's it's good to get away, get a little relaxing time in, and man, I tried not to blow you up. In fact, I felt bad that day that the Rockstar Dad thread was going off, and you were like, I think you were at the bar or something, and you're like, I can't deal with this. I'll help with this, but right now I am drunk.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, you don't need to deal with any of this. I got it. But, which
I said something like, because we had two different threads that day going on. I think there's a band thread. It was about possible show coming up, and then there was Rockstar Dad also blowing up.
Yeah.
And so like I answered the BFS thread because it was kind of at the moment, and it was also way less messages. And then I kind of just said, hey, I see this other thread going. I'll get caught up later.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't worry about it. I got it.
Yeah, I got it, man. But that sounds fun. You know, when we pick a resort, we I just admit this. I mean, and I think you probably know this, but I just simply, the first thing I look is if they have a swim up bar, and if they don't, we just don't go there.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, that literally, there are entire cities that we think we're going to go visit, and we don't go there because there's not a hotel with a swim up bar available to us. And so we don't go.
Yeah.
There.
You know, it sounds awesome. And like I'm a really good dad whenever I was saying I was picking places that had slides and stuff for the kids. But like the first criteria is it all inclusive? Is there a swim up bar?
Right.
Then let's go see if there's some stuff for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, that does. But I have a, when we were at Rob's wedding, so two things actually are similar here. First of all, Rob's wedding, the Philly people show up, and there are some of those that are from New Jersey, New York, or whatever, and they start doing that shots and standing on the bar shit or whatever. And remember, we had talked the guy into staying open like an extra 30 minutes or something, and they were like really strict about it. Boy, they just fucked it up for all of us. They just get in there and just all loud and shit. It's like, you guys are doing it wrong. Like that. This is not what you do.
Yeah.
When you're asking for a favor, you know.
The other thing about the whenever they showed up is they brought, you know, of course, everyone's showing up with all their family, right? There's a big wedding is why they were there. So there's like 80 New Yorkers that showed up. The swim up bar was just ruined. But it's really annoying watching people just take up shots, right? That's fine. I get it, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like they're kids. You got like 15, 12-year-olds trying to order at a swim up bar. And it's just like, come on.
Sure. Yeah.
Y'all don't need to be this daddy's drinking time.
This is where daddy is drinking with his son.
Yeah.
You know, get out of here. You know, no, I agree. I definitely think, you know, it totally, like, you can go get your soft drink over there, pal. Also,
exactly.
Also, you don't give a shit about getting in and out of the pool. It's getting hard for us to do that, you know?
Yeah. And you're just going to take 3 sips and then spill it. Let's get out of the way.
You know, that is so fucking accurate. The other thing that you said about the ball is my wife, we were at Rob's wedding, and we went to the gift shop, and I think she needed flip-flops or something. It's the normal thing. Okay, we forgot this. We need toothpaste, or we need this. And so, you know, you're just grabbing shit. And so I grabbed one of those skip balls, and she goes, "You need a ball?" And I go, "Yeah." She's like, "Why do you need a ball?" And I go, "Because it's a pool. Like, you need a ball." And she's like, "That seems silly. Like, you're going to just go and just play with the ball about it." Now, she wasn't mean about it. She's smiling the whole time, just kind of giving me shit about it, but not aware that one time our band and crew went to Nassau, Bahamas, and for 3 days played catch in a swimming pool with a sweatband.
Yeah. When you say for 3 days, it's not like, 3 days in a row we played catch. You mean from 11:30 a.m. till 9 p.m.
For 3 days with a sweatband like you would wear around your wrist playing basketball in the 70s. That's what we did. And I go, and she goes, "And so who are you going to throw this to?" And I'm like, "You'll see." And that trip, that ball was flying around that pool the entire time. And like, people were just like, grown men would be like, "You guys the ones with the ball?" Yeah, we got the ball. But you don't want to throw that over here for a minute? Like, and so now my wife is so awesome because she'll have like, "Okay, I got the sunscreen is all packed. I got you 3 different balls. Some of them are skipping. Some of them don't absorb water. There's one that looks like a football." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's perfect."
Yeah, you're exactly right. On this trip, we brought the ball. We brought like 4 balls in case we lost some.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tyler and I are throwing it. And then Tyler's cousin Ian, he moseys over. And then like just random kids are like on the side going, woohoo, you know, and like it just turns into me throwing, you know, skyrockets for whoever can catch it to catch it. And everyone
kids
at the pool is playing with the ball.
It gets the kids together. Everything's great, man. I love vacation. It's so funny that we're talking about this. We just booked ours for next year. Same place. We got a different room, but
you're on top of it. I wait till like 3 or 4 months ahead, which sucks because then you're not you don't have all the options. But I'm just impressed with your being ready and already booking it this far in advance.
I am not on top of it. My wife is not on top of it. Amy and Casey Fisher are on top of it. So
there you go.
Fisher texts this morning. He goes, "We can now buy flights for such and such week because you know you got to be a certain amount out. We can now buy flights for this thing." So Amy goes, "Well, they did the dates around me because we have a show that must not be mentioned, and then we have another thing after that." Mm-hmm. So we're literally, I'm like going in between those two things, and Bowling for Soup, I mean. And so we decide the dates, and then it was just Amy's just like, okay, we're doing this room, and then Casey's like, flights booked, and we're all just catching up. So last year I fucked up and waited to book my flights because I do that thing where I go look at them, and then I just assume that I booked them, and then a couple of weeks early. So I really got my ass kicked on the flights last year. So I'm not going to let that happen, but I'm excited to be planning next year's vacation. But hey guys, listen, we got Dusty Mots coming up on the show. It is so great to be back doing shows. We've got some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. We should have new shows every week from now on. But you know, life happens, things happen. So I want to thank Jack, our new producer, for his patience and all of that. And of course, Adobe Radio. So we'll be back with Dusty Mots right after these messages. Y'all listen to this. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. My name's Jaret. That's Gary. We're in your favorite band, Bowling for Soup. Tour dates coming up this fall. We're out with Mest and Authority Zero. If you're listening in the UK, we will be there in February. But you better get those tickets quick.
There's only a few left.
Only a few left. Actually, both tours, their shows are starting to sell out. But the UK, there's less shows. So there is a greater percentage of sellouts. But it's going to be a good few months. Excited. I'm excited to get back on the road with this Authority Zero. You know, it's so funny. We met those guys. We were still in a van. We met them in Florida at some little shitty. It wasn't shitty. It was just a weird cut up club. Like it was like a disco club, but but they had 5 punk bands in there that day.
Yeah, and it was in a time where we were playing radio shows, so we saw them
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah. And then Mest, we didn't meet until Warped Tour, but we've known them ever since. And Tony was actually on the show a couple of weeks ago and revealed his baby. He revealed that they're going to have was it a girl? I can't remember.
It's a baby.
They're going to have a baby. That's right. But they revealed the sex of it on our podcast. Oh, no, they didn't. No, they haven't done the sex yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going crazy. We don't know what it is. No, I know why, because I think they're going to do that during the tour. They just said that they were, because they don't even know yet. They're like newly pregnant. But it
is a baby.
It is a baby for sure that they're going to have. And anyway, he revealed it on our show, but then like had to go, hey, don't release that yet. I got to make sure we've told everybody. And I'm like, well, we have a very vast audience.
And we're not good at keeping secrets.
No, we are the worst. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine if they had told us the sex and it was a secret and I would have just let it out?
Was that Florida show with Authority Zero? I think that was the time that you fell down the hill and were lost and called us to come pick you up but didn't know where you were.
Well, that was a festival. They were there because it was the time that we learned that Jason Devereaux from Authority Zero has to take a shit before every single show. And they were in, I only remember it because of that. But yeah, SR71 was there and it was them. And then, I got drunk and fell down a hill and didn't know where I was. And had to call the guys from a payphone and say, come get me. And they were like, well, where are you? And I'm like, I don't know. And
yeah. And this is like pre-iPhone. There's no like send your location. You're just like, I see some buildings.
Yeah. I had to, Eric was like, what are landmarks around you? Well, there's a big highway and I'm at a gas station. What kind of gas station is it? Hold on. They have diesel and unleaded. What a
really
mess.
narrowed it down for
It was really a mess of how, that happened 4 or 5 times. Somebody would go missing and finding people back then. It's just a wonder. It's crazy what you could do without a cell phone or anything back then. I mean, it's pretty wild. But yeah, those were fun days. And I'm excited to tour those guys. And obviously, Less Than Jake and the Vandaliers in the UK, obviously Less Than Jake being some of our favorite people to tour with. And the Vandaliers, such a fun show. If you haven't checked them out, you might want to do that. That's going to be great fun. Next year's going to be busy, dude. 30,
yeah, both those are going to be awesome tours.
30 years Bowling for Soup next year and 20 years of A Hangover You Don't Deserve. And, man.
So that's 50 together. Does that mean we need to get like walkers?
Yeah, well,
you don't get walkers at 50 though. 50 is like the new 30.
50 is the new. That's what I think too. But I don't know. I'm not planning on slowing down. I'm gonna just fucking go full force because I don't want to just sit in a chair for 10 years. Like I'm gonna just fucking go until I burn out, and then I'm out.
I was going to say, what if it was a really nice chair? And, I still don't think you just want to sit there.
No, not at all.
Speaking of nice chairs, I need to get a new office chair. I don't know if you've noticed the whole time we're talking, I have to keep on getting my...
the hydraulic thing?
Yeah. I'm just sitting here talking and getting shorter and shorter, and I hate it.
That's like anytime you want to actually get some work done in a hotel, those things are always broken. And at the bottom of the hydraulic thing, it's like you're a little kid sitting at a grown-up table, and there's just no way to do it, and it's super frustrating.
The other thing the hotel ones have though is like the hinge to lean back is always super loose, and so you think you're going to lean back, and you're like, God, I'm going to fall.
You're almost going to die. You're exactly right, and that's too much. That's absolutely too much leaning back. Dusty Mots is coming back. Nope, that's not what he's doing. He's coming on the show here shortly.
I mean, maybe someday he'll come back if we're nice to him.
Isn't he great, by the way?
Yeah.
What a great guy. Like, he seems like a dude that'd be fun to hang around with. You or him cook a brisket. I don't need to be involved in that. And then we all eat it and drink a bunch.
I think that he'd be a good neighbor because he has a boat. So, you're going to get to go to the lake sometime.
Did he say he had a boat?
Yeah.
Speaking of boats, I'm going to take this opportunity to just say a heartfelt rest in peace to gosh damn it, I can't think of his last name. Ron Sexton, I got it. The actor that played Donnie Baker. Donnie Baker was so many mornings of laughter for me. It would be like the first thing that I would see, and like I would be crying laughing on the toilet. And my wife would hear me and she'd be like, is it a Donnie Baker thing? And like, yes. And just so sad that guy's gone. But they've been putting up like his highlights on his page. His family is running his page now. And he has this whole series on his boat getting confiscated or getting repoed or whatever. And man, everything that man said in that character was so funny. So gonna really miss that guy.
I haven't seen the boat bit, but
oh man,
the character and he, there's some great stuff out there.
Great stuff. And I think we met him when we did the Bob and Tom show, but it's real hard to remember because in those, I mean, he wouldn't have been in the costume, and when you're in those things, it's always so you're in and out. I remember that room being really big, and they're kind of all radio people. When you go on the radio, and especially on a big show, when you walk in, they will sometimes acknowledge you guys, but most of the time they don't want to talk to you because they want to save it for the air. And that's good. That's professional. But it is weird walking in there because they're all looking down and doing other things. And you sort of think, well, at first it's like, what a dick. Like, just say hello.
Well, whenever you're new to it, not only that, you're like, okay, this is weird. And then whenever they jump on and like, hey, blah, 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 you're like, well, you guys are fake as fuck.
Yeah, I know. Totally, right.
But then you do it a few times and you realize, oh, so it's not awkward whenever you're having that conversation because you already had that conversation.
And it's not unlike this, right? When we have a guest, we try not to talk very long at all, even if we've never met them. It's like we in fact, this interview coming up with Dusty, it's like, hey man, how you doing? That's Gary. You ready to go? We need you 30 minutes. And then boom.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's going to be very missed. So Donnie Baker, thanks for everything. Ron Sexton. And for the rest of you guys, listen to this. We'll be right back. More Rockstar Dad Show and Dusty Mots. Hang around. Welcome back to the Rockstar Dad Show. Man, my favorite thing, Gary, as we've discussed about making this cross into the Texas country red dirt world is the people that I'm meeting. And I realize it's super cliche to say, but I think when you meet this next guy, it'll really start to make sense if it hasn't already, because he's just a gem. Welcome Dusty Mots to the show. How are you, Dusty?
Man, I am blessed by the best, my friend. It's been a great day. How about y'all?
Yes, same. Always a great day, right? That's
bro, for sure.
A guy that drives me sometimes, I'll say, "How are you?" And his answer is always good. I'm always good.
Well,
and I love
I had a buddy of mine that always used to tell me, "No bad days."
Right. That's
no
Ray.
Matter what.
That's Ray, right? Is that who you're talking about?
That's the kind of. Actually, he passed away a couple years ago. He was the guitar player for Toby Keith. His name was Joey Floyd.
Okay.
Same exact thing, man. Just always, man, always in a good mood. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I actually got a song called "Laking It Easy" that's out. It's actually got a tribute to him. There's no bad days when you're rocking the waves.
Oh man,
right?
I love it.
That kind of always having good days personality is infectious and just makes you want to be around that type of person.
100%, man, for sure. Right on, bro.
It's so true, man. It's like, I think it's, negative people can really wear you out. And, even as much as you try to keep up, it's just like, good Lord, man. I think it's nice to be an adult and be able to choose who you surround yourself with.
Oh,
you know?
100%, right?
Well, let's get this out of the way. Obviously, back behind you, some Longhorns greats up on the wall. Earl Campbell, Vince Young, and Ricky Williams all back there behind you. And I see your Earl Campbell has the stats sewn into it, which they all do. Oh, Vince Young too.
Except for the Ricky Williams one.
Yeah, very cool. I have a Jack Lambert that Chris Burney from Bowling for Soup got me that it's his Hall of Fame jersey and it has all of his stats in it. But are you a Longhorn?
I am actually a Longhorn fan. I had a roommate that was a bass player, and this is some funny stuff. I actually played football at Southeast Missouri and Cape Girardeau. But when I got out of college, I had this bass player that I worked with when I had kind of played around a little bit at Cowboys in Dallas, and he was a rabid fan. And man, I lived with him, and dude, every Saturday, you just became one because you hung out with him. Like you talk about infectious personalities, his love for the Longhorns was ridiculous. And also, I'm a huge South Park guy now because of that guy.
Right. Yeah.
I think we can relate to that pretty heavily. We had a drum tech that toured with us for years and years and years, and he was a rabid Kansas City Chiefs fan and kind of brainwashed us all into being Chiefs fans there for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if they weren't, they were everybody's second team because Gary's a Cowboys fan. I'm a Steelers fan, obviously, but it really became one of those things where we knew if the Chiefs didn't win or at least play well, it was going to ruin everybody's day because of this guy. And so, it is one of the, but you know what? It's funny. What I like about college sports is I don't like college sports. And it's not that I don't like it. It's that it's hard to keep up with. There's just such a huge turnover, and it's not even every 4 years now, I mean, it's like every two, and in basketball is even worse, right? Because they may play 1 year, and so but anytime I'm around a fan, I love it because I'm willing to come to your side. I don't care who you're rooting for because it's it's fun to root, right? But Longhorn fans, I feel like our buddy, friend of the show, Gary Price, who is our golf buddy and my neighbor, and honestly a huge boost of me getting into the whole Texas country world just because just really, really pushing me. He is such a rabid Texas Longhorn fan, and there are certain times where like he has to watch by himself sometimes. Like it's like to the point where it ruins his weekend, you know.
If they lose. And I'm not quite there yet.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
It's honestly, you know, you're talking about kids.
Yeah.
That's something I enjoy with my kiddos. We both, you know, I had a really cool TV room at one point in time that had like 6 different TVs on the wall and was streaming. You could watch every game going on at once.
Yeah.
Cooking food and eating food, and from 12 till about, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night, you had game after game after game after game, and it just became kind of an activity. And then, man, if we ever played any, you know, I know we talked a little bit about video games. I would catch myself on, you know, college football or NCAA playing football with him, and him just spanking me. Because, dude, they're so good at that stuff, man.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Well,
they know all the buttons.
They do know all the buttons. It's, you know, we talk about this a lot on this show, but Gary's a few years younger than me, but he's like that few years where like I had Atari with one button. You know this, Dusty, because you know, we had one button. Gary's first generation PlayStation kid. So he's the first kid that had like the multiple buttons or whatever. And then, but now it's one further because now they have, I don't know, there's 7 buttons on each side or something like that. And now his kid is spanking him in all of the stuff, but it's just crazy how that's too many things for my fingers to do, you know?
Says the guitar player.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
No. But so, man, I'm talking about that. You know, Jared, I know you and I talked about crazy stuff for kids. Did your kiddo go through the Fortnite craze?
Oh, man.
He's playing Fortnite all the time.
Yeah. So,
man, did you have to play that?
No, I didn't.
You had to?
No.
Dude.
You did?
Oh, man, let me tell you something. No, I split custody up with my 10-year-old. I've got a 28-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Okay.
And man, one of the ways that I would spend time with him, you know, based upon balance, right? I had to put on headphones, plug into the Xbox, and I was forced to play Fortnite. and I don't know if you've ever done it, but it is the most awkward, oddball.
Yeah,
I can't even describe it. It's man, I used to laugh because, you know, I don't know, it's like kind of like Call of Duty. But there'd be all these people from all these places playing these games. And man, he wound up protecting me. I'd be over there with my character hiding in the corner.
Yeah.
And him and his buddies are just chopping all these people around.
Oh, man.
You know, I'm glad he's out of that phase. I don't know what it was. He did Goat Simulator yesterday or the day before. So I don't know if I play Goat Simulator, I may want to go back to Fortnite, but at this point, I don't know.
My good. Yeah. You know, it's funny. You and I have so much in common. I have a get back to Fortnite, but I have a 20-year-old girl, a 17-year-old boy, and then a 10-year-old boy. But my 2 older, I had 50-50 of them. And so it's the same way. Like I pretty much lost him in his room for the better part of a year and a half, the 17-year-old for that game because and he would come out every once in a while. I'd be like, hey, Dad, you want to go shoot baskets? And I'd kind of have to drop what I was doing to go do that. Otherwise, I wasn't going to see the kid because he'd be right. He was eating his meals up there, you know, and you know, you do what you can to curb it, but you know, he's doing good in school. He's not getting in any trouble, you know, and it's like, it's if I was sitting in my room playing my guitar, you know what I mean? Like, and you know, gaming is a thing. You can't, you know, if kid tells you they want to make a living being a gamer, you can't go, oh, no, you can't do that. Especially doing what you and I do for a living, what me and Gary do, you know, it's out there. But let's talk about fatherhood first. Cause I want to get into music as well as we go throughout this interview. We're talking to Dusty Mots. You listen to the Rockstar Dad Show, and Dusty, so you got a 28-year-old. And you're about my age. So, you know, I mean, that's fairly young to become a dad. What was going on in your life at the time that you became a parent?
So, man, interestingly enough, you know, I was playing football in Cape Girardeau. Man, I got injured, tore my Achilles, did a couple things, and kind of, I never finished college other than I've got an associate's degree, but that came afterwards. But I came home and started dating this girl. And of course, we're not always the smartest kids in the world. We're in the middle of stuff where, like the pastor used to say, that sinning is fun. That's why people do it, right? I wound up with an unexpected kiddo.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I was trying to chase dreams, still chasing music. I'm a workaholic, very dedicated to anything that I do. And so at the front part of my life, man, I was chasing women, chasing music, doing some writing, back and forth to Nashville, a little bit of time in Nashville, spending time down here. Back when I started playing country, cover bands were the way that it worked. So you'd work 5 or 6 nights a week, playing 4 or 5 sets of nothing but cover, sneaking your originals in, not telling anybody that's what it is because it had to be top 40. And so I was just kind of getting by. And honestly, kind of what happened with my first son is really changed the dynamic with my second one, because there's about 18 years between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I think being a workaholic and a dream chaser, and then also with the extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean, that come along with the music business that we all get kind of caught up into. I don't know if I was probably the best dad at that time.
Yeah.
When he turned about, 15, I think I'd kind of pulled away from music for the most part, even a little earlier than that, and kind of went into corporate America. But, I did the best. I think some of my funniest memories are coming home from a gig at 3:30 in the morning, and my oldest kid, the TV's on, and I walk through the garage, and all of a sudden he pops his head up over the top of the couch, and he was sitting there watching Titanic at 3:00 in the morning.
Right. Just waiting up for you, I wonder what he thinks about that. Like, I think you say, because, we're hard on ourselves for things that we miss, but, it's what we do. It's a part of who we were at the time. I too chase girls, chase a dream, and all of us do that, but you got a 28-year-old son now. I wonder when he looks back upon that relationship, and you guys talk about that, what would he say if you said, I don't really know if I was that good of a father? What would his words be to you?
I honestly believe he knows that for the most part. When I was going through some stuff, we kind of had some accountability conversations, right?
Yeah.
I think it's points and times, when kids are little, they almost look at parents as superheroes, right? And then you realize, man, as you get a little bit older, they're human, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so I had to take some ownership of some of that stuff. And I think it changed the dynamic. I know this, I know his work ethic, and I got 3 grandkids too. He's got 3 kids himself. So I know for him, the impact that really came from that was what not to do. Right.
Yeah.
And, sometimes those are hard lessons. And I believe that, he loves me and he cares. He knows that I did the best that I could in those times. But I also know that, man, there's probably some value in the lesson that he learned from what I did do.
Sure.
And also in comparison to how I am now.
Yeah.
Maturity is an interesting thing, right? Some people call it maturity, some people call it experience. I think it's a combination of both, right? And where I am now in comparison to what I was then is a completely different thing. And I think my 10-year-old probably got a little bit better into the stick.
Yeah.
But I also know that, I think evolution and understanding and compassion and accountability as a dad or as a human being, right, in that nature for those relationships that you really want to foster have been crucial. Like I said, I think he loves me. As he got a little bit older, I was there through college, totally different deal, corporate America, able to help him, visit him consistently. It's been a lot better since those days. And then, 12, 13, 14 was where we really dove in and I kind of started making amends with that relationship.
Yeah. Good for you. I mean, and honestly, just good for you to be accountable for it, because the thing is, and the deal is that, and I'm in therapy and I literally just talked about my shrink with my shrink the other day, but just like, it's okay to be, you don't have to continue to beat yourself up over those years or whatever.
No.
You take accountability for it. You do this, you move on and you be a better, the better person that you want to be. But, I was going to ask that about parenting, about him being a parent. So he has 3 kids now.
Yeah, man, he has 3 kids.
Wow, that's awesome. And now it's so interesting too when you have a child that's 18 years old and then another child is born. So because a really good friend of ours, we'll mention Casey Fisher on the show because they always listen, but he has 2 older brothers that are like 18 and 20 years older than him.
Yeah.
And their relationship is close, but it growing up for him, it was more like uncles. They were really more like, it really wasn't like a sibling kind of thing. What's the relationship with your boys?
Man, it's interesting. That's a great question. Honestly, Colton, my oldest, has been really involved in his own life. They have a relationship, but it's probably not as strong. He's down in Austin, kind of working his career, raising his kids.
Yeah.
And Braxton's up here. Mm-hmm. And it takes some real effort to connect kids, when they're like that, right? Mm-hmm. That distance, Colton was in college when Braxton was born, and he's down in Texas State. And so it was really difficult for him to even build any connection. In today's world, man, there's so many mixed families, right?
Of course.
Colton's mom and I, it's not the same mother, right, with Braxton and Colton. Colton's got another little brother that, man, is about 16. Mm-hmm. So when they were growing up, he was around in his mom's household all the time. And so they have a little different relationship.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the little one, he kind of questions, hey, man, does my brother, is he wanting to be involved, like little kids do? And it just takes a lot of effort on everybody's part. And sometimes, as you guys know, life takes over and you worry about your unit. I kind of look at families as circles, right? You have your inner layer, you're out, another layer, another layer, another layer. And the ones that are in your household consistently all the time, they are the ones that command 99% of your attention because you are responsible for raising them, feeding them, taking care of them, providing. There's man stuff that we talk about too that we all get kind of caught up in, right? We've got to be that guy. And sometimes, just like what we went through, you lose sight is that there's other relationships in the family that could use a little bit more injection of spirit or time.
Yeah.
But man, you can't fault people. It's like us. We have friends. I'm sure. My gosh, we should get together more often.
Oh,
and
man.
Just don't see them for another year.
Right.
Family, especially when they're in different places, it can be like that. And so, the beauty of FaceTime, the beauty of computers has kind of changed a lot of that kind of stuff. You can communicate on a regular basis, even text messages.
Yeah, 100%.
Even text, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I totally feel what you're talking about. My wife talks about this all the time because Emmett and Jack, as I said, they were here 50-50. But, once kids become teenagers, especially if they're in a split household, and they get friends and they get cars or whatever, they're coming around less and less. And I wasn't that dad. I had those friends growing up that when it was their dad's time, it was militant and they had to do that. And you know what? That's what that dad did. And that, I think every parent has to make their own choices. But for me, if they were like, hey, Dad, can I not come until Wednesday this week? I want to do this, or, and then that becomes more and more. And then once they get cars, they're just like, hey, I'm just going to stay at Mom's this week or whatever. And so, by the time that started happening, Everett was, 4 or 5 years old. So really, he sort of just, I think, feels like an only child. Like it feels like he grew up in this house.
I totally get
by
what you're
himself.
saying.
Yeah. And so, and I see what you're saying too. I think what's cool though about Braxton wanting to reach out to his older brother, is that I don't know if he has a phone yet or an iPad or whatever, but they will start texting at some point and and telling jokes back and forth, and that'll be cool. And tell me about your so you have a stepson that is 16.
Well, no, I've got he's actually my ex-wife's kid, and I've actually kind of been involved in his life too.
Okay.
His dad passed away a couple years ago, and man, we've tried to put trips together as crazy as this sounds with all of the boys.
Yeah, good for you.
And doing things together. He seems like he's doing really well. I do have a son that's actually, I say a son, I don't even know what you call him. It's my girlfriend's kid. Man, it was at A&M for a while and is now a professional rugby player for the Dallas Jackals.
Hell yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, right?
Don't fuck with that guy.
Oh, he's killer, man. Little small dynamite package, you know.
Yeah.
So balancing that has been really difficult, especially with gigs, right?
Right.
Because games are, of course, on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, I've got a real interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're there when you need to be there, you know. And I think that's one of the things we do talk about that a lot on this program, and that's what I love about this show is all of the dads in the different scenarios. It sounds like you have 4 completely separate situations, you know, on your hands, and but you're stepping up and you're doing what you need to do in all of them, and being there, and you know that's what's most important. I mean, I can tell you're, you know, first of all, I'm going to tell you this just by talking to you 2 times in my life. Here are a few predictions that I have about you. You can cook a fucking brisket. Right? Am I right?
You're not wrong.
Okay. You can cook a fucking brisket. Okay. That's the first thing. All right. You're pretty good at golf.
Decent.
Okay.
Decent.
You're pretty good at golf. All right. That's 2 for 2. If I get one more, I win a free oven mitt. Okay. Here we go. Number 3 is going to be another thing. You drive a pickup truck.
Dude. So I had a pickup truck for years. For years. Like I literally, Jared, I had a Dodge 4-wheel drive, jacked up, big tires.
I knew it. That's what I had pictured in my head for sure.
and man, what's funny about it, until a couple years ago when I started playing, I got a real cost-effective little SUV.
Yeah.
And man, it's like a mom car, bro.
Yeah, I get you.
I drive a mom car. You know, it becomes about facilitation at that point.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
You know, and so I keep equipment loaded in it. I don't have to move stuff around.
I was just about to say, yeah, you don't want to take you get to a point, especially when you're 50, right? Like you get home from playing across town, and the last thing you want to do is start taking the heavy shit out of there. Like you take your guitar out, and the rest of it, you're just like, homeowners will cover it. Fuck it. Leave it in there.
Hey, open the garage, pull the car in.
There you go. That's even better.
That's exactly what I do. So
here's the 4th prediction that you missed was that he has a garage that's cleaned out enough for him to park his car.
You're probably right. Yeah. Gary and I do not have that.
I'll tell you something funny. There is a wall of stuff. I've got one of those. I've got a 2-car, and then I've got, of course, they call it the boat garage. Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I've got the boat garage, and all of my music equipment is at the front of the boat garage. Right.
Mhm.
So if I do have to load some stuff that's not in the truck, whether it's merch, stuff, you know, because you don't always carry all that with you.
Sure.
I pull back up, load it in, get out.
Man.
But there is, I wish I could take you out there. I'd show you. There's like a mattress and a bed that is like a really faux wall that kind of separates, that I have just like a tunnel. But I can pull the car up in there. And literally, that's exactly how it is.
Gary, that's how your garage used to be. You used to have this stack down the middle, and then you was open thing. But like yours is like mine now, right? It's like no man's land in there.
Yeah. Years ago, it was a mess, and I had it cleaned out, and right whenever I got it cleaned out to where it was functional, a couple weeks later, that's when my dad passed away, and I got a bunch of stuff from his house.
Yeah.
And it went in the garage and kind of just I don't know. It's still some of his stuff, but like from then it just accumulated. And now every now and then we start moving stuff out, and it just accumulates again. So every time we take 2 steps back forward, we take 3 steps back.
The problem with putting stuff in your garage that isn't just like a random item is that anything you put in the garage can have something else put on it. So they just become these random stacks of shit. And then, you know, and I'll be like, I can't throw all this away. I can't throw this away because that's Casey's, or this is my son's, or whatever. Like, I need everybody to come stand here while I clean up the garage.
So that's where we are now. Like 90% of what's in there is not mine anymore.
Yeah.
And so like I get mad. I'm going out there and I'm going to clean this crap out. And I get out there and I'm like, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Because it's not mine. Can I get rid of this?
Where do you put it? Yeah.
That's funny.
Dusty.
It is a constant challenge for the garage.
Oh my God, it is. Unless again, at my old house, I just had it on lockdown. But my ex was just a tidy, like no clutter person. Well, I am married to another artist who is cluttery.
Oh, wow.
She's cluttery just like me. and we both don't give a shit if there's a pile of stuff over there. You know what I mean? And so it just, that's what happens. But let's talk about that. You know, what I found interesting about, you know, our talk the other day, by the way, let's plug your show. You also have a podcast.
I've got a couple podcasts.
Well, talk about those real quick.
I'll say, so I'm partnered with Smith Music, you know, all the live at Billy Bob stuff. I work with DJ Dugan, and we run the Texas Tailgate radio show and podcast. And then I work with a buddy of mine that has Texas Country Music TV, and we do the Texas Country Today podcast. And really, it's artists, industry professionals. You know, we've been we've got 94 episodes of the Texas Tailgate podcast that's been out. We're actually going to shrink that down a little bit and start only doing it once a month. We've been doing it every week. A lot of that has to do with Americana Fest. And I think there's some live at Billy Bob stuff that's going on that's being negotiated. DJ just doesn't have the time.
Right.
And I'm okay with the two of us getting into the holidays and the end of the summer. Dude, I'm cool to have a Monday night off, right?
Yeah, totally.
But the Texas Country Now is mobile, just like this. That one was in person. They're really cool, man. We've had some cool guests. We've had McBride and the Ride, had you, of course, which was a lot of fun. We've had Jamie Richards. A lot of the pillars of the Texas music community have been on it. You know, myself, I've been around playing music around here for 25 years. Been involved in the Texas country music scene probably for 3.5 or 4. And so, man, it just becomes, like we talked about, the big word content. It becomes something, sharing content, working together, networking. That's how I think you and I technically met through Steel Records, but and we have met through sharing of content.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's just it. It's like when, so Steel Records, for you guys listening, if you're paying attention to the Jaret Reddick stuff, I put out that song Hop a Train by Matt Mason. It's on that compilation. Well, Dusty is on there too. And I made it a point to, anytime they would tag somebody, to follow them or whatever. And so I think that's how you and I connected, was following each other through that. And then I was on your show. But, you know, I you start out as a musician, you're chasing the dream, so to speak, doing the cover songs, doing all, just basically playing, doing whatever you can to play music. Did that lead up into the you deciding it was time to, get out there and get a real job, go into the corporate world? Is that what you were doing when that happened?
Man, I like to eat.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen me? I like to eat. You said I like brisket. Have you seen how much that is a pound? Right? So shit, and I like ribs and chicken too. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those deals. The reality of it is man, honestly, Jared, I just really wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Think about it from this perspective. As reality set in is at that point in time when I was younger, there's 6, 8, 10 country labels with a total of 10 or 12 people, 6 female, 5 male. So you're talking about 80 or 90 people signed to a record deal. Spotify really wasn't a thing. You had Napster. Of course, you went through that. So there wasn't an ability to be a independent artist. And so I'd done some recording and some things like that. And I just got to the point where I really wanted to make some money. And so for me in particular, I got into the corporate world. I was in the staffing business for 20 plus years.
No.
Toward when I first started doing it, I was playing and doing it all at the same time. And then I kind of realized that I was really good at selling stuff. And so I dive in full force. And so I was a VP of sales and marketing for one company. We took a company from about 30 million to 100 million in about 3 years organically. And then I kind of got involved in some startups. And man, had been really doing some cool stuff, working from home. And then COVID hit in 2020. We rocked along. And then, man, the last quarter, because everybody had been cooped up for so long, our business almost dropped completely off because everybody was out shopping. We dealt with 3-party logistics and stuff like that. And so 2 days before Christmas, I lost my gig.
Wow.
And so, COVID was an interesting dynamic for all of us, right?
For sure.
I'm sure for music, I had 5 cars, a house, just all this bullshit, right? And then I had this nut to meet every month that was just, oh my gosh, it was ridiculous. And I'd already been thinking about downsizing, even though we were rocking. I just had come to the realization that, dude, it's stuff. I just got stuff. Yeah. And man, so I really didn't do much for a while, but I'd liquidated. I sold my home. got divorced in the process, sold my home, sold my cars, moved into a little 2-bedroom apartment, and was like, man, wound up getting some money back from getting laid off. So I sat around for 6 or 7 months, and, I hadn't really thought about, I really hadn't written anything. I think it'd been 10 years since I've actually logged into my BMI account. Right. When I first did it. And with COVID happening, I live out on Eagle Mountain Lake, and man, none of the stuff in town was actually people weren't playing, but out here in the lake, it's county. Right. So there were things that were going on, and we would set up in there's 5 or 6 venues on the lake that did live music. So I would bring video cameras in, and we would set up to-go orders and help these businesses sell to-go and do live music for like 6 hours. We'd do slots and run the specials down at the bottom. Well, in that process, I started seeing all these guys writing songs. I was like, well, and of course, the competitiveness, man, I can write songs, And so when I was playing with them, man, I started playing my songs, and they're like, where in the hell did that come from? I said, man, I used to do this all the time. Yeah. And I've got 300 or 400 tunes, and so started writing again. And a kid named Jacob Armitage, who's actually a Texas artist, you may have heard of him, was like, dude, you got to go in and record. And I was like, no. And he talks me into it. So I go down to Rosewood, cut my first single, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to do this just to say that I did it again. Right. And literally, it's been all downhill since then, or excuse me, all up. I was going to say shit. That's well, but here's something else funny for you, right? So the real diamond in this whole situation was the corporate experience. At the end of the day, man, I learned how to do a lot of really cool shit. How to reach people, sell Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, Best Buy, Shutterfly, closing accounts of that magnitude, right? And so everybody told me you can't get on radio without a promoter. Well, I said, bullshit, watch me. And I promoted my first single, wound up in the top 40. Nice, good for you. And so along with a music career, I don't know if you know this, I own a booking agency, a talent buying situation. It became something, that little entity of doing that stuff during COVID. We specialize with acoustic acts and smaller stuff most of the time, but I do a lot of talent buying for larger shows. I book myself. I have a radio promotions company. It's an artist advocacy group, because sometimes we know how expensive that can be. My goal is just to help artists continue to be independent. I show them every process of everything that I do. If they choose to want to keep doing it afterwards, it's great. It's an extremely cost-effective entity because you know how independent artists are. A lot of them don't have the luxury of extreme finances. But man, I've got a merch company. I do merch, hats. It has become something that I pretty much live every day, and it's all ran from the inside of my office at my house. Yeah. And so, and I play 5 or 6 days a week most of the time. So good Lord. Well, and then we do writing sessions and man, I do like we have younger artists that have artist development. Man, Jaret, there's so much experience that all of us, yourself included, Gary, we have so much experience that we can share that can keep these guys from running into walls. Oh yeah. And I truly believe at 50 years old, I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep releasing music. Every single I've had is charted. Yeah. I've had great luck. I'm playing great shows. But I also see that, man, at some point I'm creating an entity of something that I can focus on. And I had done some consulting in the staffing business along the way. Right. But I went and toured Ireland and the UK about into May, beginning of May, like right through April and May. And I came home and I decided that I had business entities that really were just dying for my attention, dying for my attention. And I was making really great money doing consulting and only working 20 hours a week. But I realized at that point in time that, man, that I could really make an impact for myself, for other artists in this music community. And man, I have not stopped. I love, isn't it what I love about the Texas country sort of red dirt community. And it's so hard for me to call it Texas country anymore because I'm already playing so much. Like I'm looking at my calendar for next year and I'm playing so much in Oklahoma, Kansas, Arkansas, Colorado. And that's all me focusing on quote unquote Texas. Right. But what I do love about this
community and about this genre is how many stories there are like you, of like dudes who, you know, are musicians, but they also have a side hustle that's a booking agency, and it's working. They have a side hustle that is management thing, and it's working. They have a side hustle because there's so much business out there for us. You know, like we can all play 3 days a week if we want to, 4 days a week if we want to, 5 days a week if we want to. And, you know, and it's not oversaturated. You know, it's like the gigs are there. I mean, there's a lot of bands. There's a lot of artists. Don't get me wrong. You know, I know that radio is getting a little bit oversaturated, and that's a little bit scary, but I don't really think that that's all that drives it. You know, I think we're out there driving it by staying on the road, you know?
Well, I'll tell you straight up out the box. And, you know, I was just at the Texas Country Music Industry Awards down in Georgetown, and I was with Ray and a couple of those other guys. You know, the reality of the situation is I think you and I don't remember if it was you and I that talked about it or whether it was McBride and the Ride that we were talking with this about. Man, there was one tastemaker, man. There was one, and it was radio, and radio drove everything, right? Think about Elvis. He put a single out. Man, radio played it. Everybody ran to the record store and bought it. Yeah. You know, I think you were kind of part of the change we're streaming. I saw your podcast where you're talking about people stealing. Yeah. The son of a bitch, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you've got 4 different ways to get your music out, and they're totally different. Radio is only about 25 or 30% of it. Yeah. You know, you've got radio, you've got all your streaming entities, you've got social. Look at what TikTok's doing to the business, right? And then, man, live shows. Look at what Shane Smith and the Saints have done for themselves with the electricity of their live show in the Texas music scene. Now it's becoming a national phenomenon. Turnpike, same exact way. Oh, yeah. And so as artists, you can't just myopically focus on radio. Good. And I hate that. But I think what radio is going to start doing, and I'm hopeful because there is a lot of value in radio. I think that radio is going to have to really look at those other tastemakers and figure out how, as radio professionals or industry professionals, that we can accentuate all those other items to continue to maintain relevance. Sure. You know, but I think what's interesting is as the listeners listen to this on internet radio or on podcast, you know, that I want everybody to realize what we're talking about here. We're talking about radio stations that are in Texas country, that are down here in Texas. There's a few reporters. There's one in Wisconsin, and there's one here and there, whatever. But and Oklahoma and Colorado. But you know, it's predominantly like this is a focused thing where radio still exists. There's a lot of people listening to this that are just like, radio's still a thing, you know, because quite frank, look at Gary, because we stopped paying attention to radio and Bowling for Soup in 2009. You know, that was, we were done. That was it. It was like same thing. It got all of, you know, early 2000s there's a handful of us pop punk guys that got through into that top 40 world. Then everything, they'd be like, oh no, this station's rhythmic, or whatever. This is hot AC or whatever. We broke the mold. We got in there or whatever. Now oversaturated. You know, basically you're right. It's like now, whatever the new Maroon 5 song is going to get that spot, you know, and, you know, the new Ed Sheeran, of course, is going to get that spot. And then the rest of it's going to be rhythmic. And so, you know, that's just not even something we pay attention to, but I just love the fact that it still even exists here. You're right. We did have that conversation because I was saying that all 3 of my singles have charted in the top 30, actually top 40, but 1 top 30, 2 top 30s, 1 top 40. I'm not keeping score, but it is kind of cool. But anyway, you were talking about what a big deal about it was, because you were saying they have 700 to 1,000 songs going for those spots every week. Yep. And hey, I'm on every one of those charts too. And I love it. Yeah. But a lot of it for me is man, the relevance of radio for me, at least in my approach, right? Yeah. Is, you know, is it becomes marketing and more content that I get to share that draws another person to my Spotify or draws somebody to my YouTube or draws somebody to my live shows or sells another t-shirt. And man, but I'll tell you this, the relationships you build in this industry here in Texas with the radio people, man, I talk to people every day that have become not just trusted advisors or advocates of the artists that we're working with. They become my friends. Right. And we stick together. man, I have artists that release singles, Jared and Gary, that, man, people are asking me, hey, man, when so-and-so got a new single coming out, I want to get the new one.
Right, yeah.
And that didn't happen in national radio. It doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen.
And I think part of what I think too about what we're talking about and this radio and the importance of it is, yes, you want people to hear it on there. You want that chart position. You need all of those things, but it's those relationships. It's getting those people to love your songs and to talk about you, and to talk about you. And, because that is really where a lot of my momentum has come from, is these early relationships of people meeting me and going, oh my God, that guy could be a total dick if he wanted to be, but which seems crazy to hear, but he's really nice, and then those guys are talking to these guys. And then all of a sudden I can get into this radio station that I couldn't get into before, and I think, but you know what? That's life, right? That's what gets you in. Relationships is what gets you from point A to point B in really 100%. In really any business.
And think about what we're talking about here. And then with this being Rockstar Dad Show.
Yeah.
What other music entity or music situation can you be in? Right. That you can literally do everything that we're talking about and still manage the commitments of your family.
Yeah, exactly.
Legitimately, like now, and I know you did it successfully with the other stuff, but man, think about most of your shows are within a couple hour radius.
100%. Oh yeah. It's the reason why I can do it. It's the reason why I can do it in between. People are like, you're insane. You're in this band that tours as much as you want to tour. And now you're in this whole other thing. And it's like, yeah, well, you know what? Most of the time I leave on Thursday, I'm home on Sunday. Sometimes I'm gone Friday and Saturday. It's like, yeah, weekends are sort of out of it. And that's going to be interesting once baseball season rolls around and I need to be at a game. We'll fucking figure it out, like as you said.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something. I coached Braxton's football team for the first 2 years. And now he's so old, he doesn't listen to me. So I don't coach him. But he ain't taking shit from me. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I would be in Lubbock. And I would literally drive home to coach his football game, get back on the road, and go back out there.
Right.
Unheard of. You couldn't do that in real life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm able to make a really nice living doing the stuff that I'm doing because of it. And I make really good money being an independent artist with independent music, merch, streaming. I don't make a lot of money off streaming, but I'm able to work this in a way that like you talk about, that you're allowed to function and make a living as a musician. I always used to tell myself, I know I was going to be a success if anytime I sat down with somebody, I could buy their lunch and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm there.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with that. And I'm not making what I was making in the corporate world, but I can tell you that's my intention. I'm also not giving. I was more unflexible working for those entities, working as a VP, than I am right now. And you can't put a value on the time that I have.
Yep. Man, I love it. I think that's a good place for us to stop this time, man, but I hope you'll come back on. I love your insight into the industry. Thank you for being so honest and open about your kids and just your life. And Dusty, I'm really glad that we got to meet, and I feel like we're going to be longtime friends. And
man, thank you for having me. Hey, Gary, next time, man, feel free to chime in anytime. I do shut up once.
Well, we've got a couple of big talkers. It's hard to jump in here and there.
Hey, trust me, Dusty.
I'm not talking about Jared. I'm just talking about myself, bro.
Yeah, you get two long-winded guys, man. It's he understands.
There's plenty of times like okay, all right.
Yeah, normally he's quiet, and we call him the Cobra because he won't say anything. He just absorbs, and then when it's time for him to strike, it's the funniest thing that's said all day. So that's the way it works in the Bowling for Soup world. Dusty, where can people find you? And let people know where you're at.
Every entity that you can find me, social media, on the web, it's all Dusty Mots music. Streaming is Dusty Mots. Man, get out. I've got a brand new album coming out. And I'm real, that's the coolest part. We didn't even talk about that at all. And I loved it. I love the fact I'm not doing any promo until right now.
I know.
Got a new album.
You know what's
I
awesome
enjoyed
about
the real talk.
That's what this show is about. We did talk a lot about music, but we talked about being dads, and I think that's important. But yes, give us the gusto on that.
So Rosewood should have this all put together by the 14th or the 11th, I should have a new album coming out. And of course, we're going to do Instagrats and all your normal stuff. And then I've got a little acoustic record that I'm doing with the Steel Record Boys called Under the Covers, that are really random things like Prince and Coldplay.
Nice. Are you going to, now I've had this idea before. Are you going to sing them a little flat?
No, no. Why would you sing them flat? That's funny.
Under the Covers. That's a little.
Dude, there you go.
See,
that's the best joke ever. That went right over my head.
I really always thought it would be so funny to do a cover called an album called Under the Covers, and you just sing a little bit flat. I realized that was ridiculous. But
it's funny that you're talking about that. There is a little goofiness to it. We're doing a bunch of weird songs that like I've been playing cover wise for probably my whole life. There's a couple of like newer ones, but man, do you remember those old NFL blankets that had all the NFL logos on them that were fuzzy and had the little strip? So every one of those album covers is going to be another blanket. Do you remember Tool Time?
Oh,
where the guy would just, and all you see is his eyes. It's going to have me, every one of the covers is going to have me holding a different blanket.
I love it.
With my head. It's just stupid stuff. And those guys did so much. We went in there and did a couple like one take vocals and really hung out and had a great time. And they turned out amazing. Those guys are magicians.
Yeah.
And then I've got a rock song, ironically enough, that they did with me that was a country song to begin with called Lost Highway that's going to drop to streaming in the next 30 days. So we've got a lot of cool stuff. The album from Rosewood is straight up 80s and 90s country.
I love it.
I'm walking the lines.
Can't wait, man. Dusty Mots, true rock star dad. Y'all look for him. Go see him out there playing. And Dusty, man, come back anytime. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you guys.
All right. We want to give a big shout out to our brother podcast, Dadcast. And also, if you heard some sponsors during this episode, why not partake in those things? It really does help the show. And also click and subscribe and all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Y'all be good.
This is a song for my friends Jaret and Gary. They started a podcast and said a theme was necessary. They're just a couple of guys in a band that you know. Some rockstar dads who started a show. Until the next episode.